Shalom everyone, and today we're studying Parashat Mishpatim, the book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 1. Parashat Mishpatim, very uh, loaded parasha with wisdom. Why? Because Mishpatim means laws. When you go to study law, the name of the study in Israeli universities is Mishpatim, same word exactly. These are the laws. That's how it starts, verse 1. Ve'ele hamishpatim, and these are the laws, asher tasim lifneim, that you will put in front of them. Parashat Mishpatim is basically the foundation of what is called the Hebrew law, the biblical law. Uh, Most of the legal issues of a community uh, are being dealt in this parasha. It's loaded with simply do's and don't do's, especially, again, criminal law. And the question is, how can we just immediately after reading Parashat Yitro, Mount Sinai revelation, such an amazing revelation, it's so much beyond imagination. We read last week how the Zohar is telling us the moment God started to speak, the souls of the whole Israelite nation took off and experienced together, all souls, millions of people, experienced together every word coming from above, flying above and below, bringing the light from above and engraving in being engraved on the tablets, and all the meanings and the deeper meanings of each word and word. And then you give us laws like, okay, let's start with the first one, verse number 2. Ki tikneh v'divri, when you purchase a Hebrew slave, 6 שנים יעבוד, 6 years he will work for you, ובשביעית יצא לחופשי חינם. On the seventh year, you will set him free without any payment. Verse 3, אם בכפו יבוא, בכפו יבוא, יצא, if he's coming into slavery by himself, which means without a wife and kids, he will leave by himself. And if he comes with a woman, he lives with his wife. So that's about slaves, and we don't have legal slave economy anymore. So why do we need it here in the Torah? So no, let's look for the next legal topic. Okay. Okay, verse 12. Makeh ish vamet mot yumat. If somebody beats up another human being and he's dead, he should be executed. Vasher lo tzada, but if it was not intentional, Va'elohim ina leyado, and God made it happen through him, V'samti lecha makom asher nu shama, and I will put for you a place that he will run into that place, a refuge city. So, which means if somebody is being sentenced in court that he killed purposely another human being, he is death sentenced. But if court is the verdict is that it was not intentional, he has to run into a refuge city. We don't have something like this today. A refuge city was a Levite city, so it was a like university center city, and he would spend his life studying over there till the death of the high priest. The death of the high priest happens, he can go home, no one can do anything to him. Well, we don't have something like this in our society. Makeh, and then verse 15, Makeh aviv ve'imo mot yomat. Someone who beats up his father or mother, he should be executed. גונב איש ומכרו, ונמצא בידו, verse 16, somebody stealing, kidnapping a person and selling him to slavery, okay, that's execution. מקלל אביו ואמו מות יומת, verse 17, whoever curses his father and mother should be executed. Let's say this is very, very harsh. Another one that is very important. בכי יריבון אנשים, let's say people fight. They have a fight. One beats the other with a stone or with a fist, and then he knocks him down. The person that was knocked down, he doesn't die, but he is bedridden. אם יקום ויתהלך בחוץ, that's verse 19, if he can come back to himself and walk outside, even on a stick, using a stick, וניקם מכה. Then the one who beats is exempt. However, he should compensate the victim for the days he was in a leave, he was not capable of working, and he should pay or cover all the medical expenses. Okay, this is the base. Here's a very famous one. So that's verse 22. Two people are fighting, and by fighting, they didn't seem to realize during the violence, they beat a pregnant woman. And because of she was beaten up, she will give birth, early birth. Now, if there's no disaster, which means nobody dies, then the person who hits the pregnant woman should be punished. The husband should charge him a fee, compensation. However, if there is a disaster, it's a soul, nefesh tachat nefesh, a soul for a soul, ein tachat ein, an eye for an eye, shen tachat shen, a tooth for a tooth, tachat a yad tachat yad, a hand for a hand, regel tachat regel, a leg for a leg, kviya tachat kviya, a burn under a burn, petza tachat patza, a wound under a wound, chabura tachat chabura, and a heat under heat. So these are laws. It looks like kind of primitive laws, but let's just try to understand what are we talking about. Then things can get clear. Okay, so yes, on one hand, these laws of Parashat Mishpatim are the base of all the huge legal criminal system in the Hebrew law. Big part of the Talmud is based on these laws over here, interpreting, adjusting, expanding those laws into every aspect of our lives. But it looks like that's very kind of dry. Where's the spiritual dimension of that? Oh, first of all, there is a matter of honesty, of integrity. You cannot reach God, godliness, revelation, connecting to huge high levels of spirituality like Mount Sinai is offering and be a criminal. It doesn't work. You have to know what not to do in order to be able to simply flourish, grow, expand in the spiritual realm. You cannot steal, but that was said already on Mount Sinai. Parashat Mishpatim is also Mount Sinai. This is just expanding on Mount Sinai. But something very, very crucial. The way the Zohar opens the commentary for this parasha. פתח רבי שמעון ואמר, verse 1 in the Sulam commentary. Rabbi Shimon opened and says, ואלה המשפטים אשר תשים לפניהם, these are the laws you put in front of them. Translation, these are the orders of reincarnation. Because Mishpatim means judgments, which means these are the judgments, the order of judgments of נשמות החוזרות ומתגלגלות לעולם הזה, הנידונות כל אחת ואחת לפי עונשה. These are the laws of souls coming back to this world, incarnating into this physical world, and each one of them is being judged each one according to its own punishment. Expanding about it. Verse 2. כי תקנה עבד עברי. Why do we start with buying a Hebrew slave? אמר רבי שמעון, חברים, כאן הזמן לגלות כמה סודות נסתרים של גלגול. רבי שמעון said, friends, this is the time to reveal hidden secrets of reincarnation. כי תקנה עבד עברי ששנים יעבוד. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he would work for you for 6 years. That means it is a code. כשהנשמה מתחייבת בגלגול, when the soul needs to incarnate again, because it's not complete yet, או מחמת עוונות, why would the soul need to reincarnate again? Why? What is the reason? And the answer is there are two of them. Either because of sins, or because that soul did not complete in its mundane life, did not complete the Torah study and the mitzvot, the precepts of the Torah. Then מחייבים אותה לחזור לעולם הזה. That soul who did not complete its mission is being obliged to come back to this physical world and to take a body as a garment. Why? Because the body basically dresses up the soul. Can you see souls? Most people cannot. Can a soul move something? Usually not. So, in order for the soul to participate in this world, the soul must be enclosed with a physical body. Now, with the territory, with the physical body, we get evil inclination, blindness, noise, upset, jealousy, fear, all kinds of worldly emotions that make us blind, so we do not see the big picture of what's really happening. We can only focus on the fear of pain that we go through. So, let us continue with the Zohar. And the Zohar, to make it short, the Zohar is telling us that soul must come to this world in order to complete the, let's say, the mission of accumulating enough spiritual energy so the soul can move up to another higher level and another higher level till the soul reaches a complete tikkun, complete correction. And then the soul can unite with the Creator. Now, this is very important to understand. When we talk about the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, who is the God of monotheism, we have to understand one very crucial concept. Since the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, since the God who is the creator of the heaven and the earth, is the source of everything, he also created human souls. And since he created human souls, as it says in Genesis, when he created the souls, he created them in a perfect state because he created a vessel in which he can bestow his grace. And the result that the vessel was created and got fulfilled instantly. Instantly. However, there's a problem. What is the problem? Because the Creator created us as vessels for his spiritual infinite light, um, he gave in the expanding of that vessel, of the light into the vessel, the Creator could not give less than the infinite. And therefore, he imprinted inside each soul the desire to be the creator. And we can read that in Genesis. And there was a night, there was a day, one day, which means in the beginning, the creator created us in a perfect state of total completion, fulfillment as a steady state. Why it didn't stay like this? Because, as we know, the Creator gave us everything, not just the pleasure and the ability. However, he implanted in us his will. And what's his will? The Creator. So we, as humans, we need to create. We need to be independent like he is independent, which means, can someone change God? Not even a bit, because he's infinite. Can you change the infinite? Of course not. If you're monotheistic, I'm talking about. If he's infinite and Melo kol haaretz kvodo, the whole earth is full of his glory, and also the heavens and everywhere. So we are talking about the creation of the vessel, which means the core force that is the engine of every soul, as the desire to receive God's light. But since we received his attributes, which means we need independence on our way to happiness, we must have the creativity in achieving that, and we must be sharing creatures, because otherwise we cannot emulate God's creativity, God's creation engine. So we needed to be created with such an opportunity. And that is the world that we live in which we must emulate the Creator, being merciful, being a giver, being above everything, being aloof, which means I enjoy life, but I'm not being affected by other people's misery and negativity. It's like there's a story, it's written in a letter that somehow was kept in among the students of Rabbi Ashlag. When Rabbi Ashlag moved to Israel, Jerusalem in 1921, he started to study Kabbalah in the open. When he was in Poland, he did it in the hiding. And a lot of people got aggravated, and that came to one of his relatives in Poland. So this relative is sending a very, very angry letter. How dare you study Kabbalah, the Zohar, and stuff like this? Who are you to think that you can do that? And I'm very, very, very sorry. I feel a lot of sorrow because you study Kabbalah. And Rabbi Ashlag is sending him an answer letter, sending it. We're talking about the early 20s of the 20th century, sending back to Poland. And he's saying, Lesimchati eini yachol ishtatef b'tzarcha. translated into English, gladly I cannot share your sorrow. Which means, okay, you are sorry, you feel sorrow, you're very intimidated by the fact that I'm studying Kabbalah, but it doesn't affect me at all. And I'm very glad about it. Why? It's your problem, not mine. I'm studying Kabbalah. This is my choice. I am the creator of my own life. And therefore, nobody's going to tell me what to study, how to study, and what kind of a life should I lead. I don't think there's any problem with the life I'm leading because I work for it. So that can happen only when we are coming to this physical dimension into a human body. And inside a human body, that creates a huge problem because when we can see only with the physical eyes, hear only with the physical ears, smell only with the physical nose, and so on and so on, and think only with the physical brain, our thinking is so much limited, so limited, and so mundane, and so blind. And how do we know? Because here and there, when a person is committed to study and to implore, to experiment and research for how the world, for the truth, little by little, you start to reveal that the way you see the world, perceive it, understand it, is such a bluff, it's such a lie. Because the more you study, you realize the less you know. So most people are really kind of victims of lifestyle of our mundane um, materialistic society, and we don't give another thought because we're too busy. However, there is a job. There is a soul and there is a body. The soul enters the body in order to experience uh, spirit over matter, in order to create that kind of a reality in which I can master my bodily limits. And by doing that, I can soar and rise above and above. And more than that, I can connect to the bliss of God, what we call fulfillment, happiness, joy. I'm talking about lasting ones. So the soul needs to come to this world, needs to perfect, correct 6 levels of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, 6 Sefirot, known also as attributes, that when we simply activate the spiritual dimension in each problem we have to deal with, we can basically do what we call our tikkun, our correction. Now, but we have to understand one thing. This is in one condition. That condition is that we human beings, what's really important in each one of us is the soul. When the soul is not there, the body is useless and meaningless. So we need the soul to be in the body. It's kind of a merkava. It's a union of the spirit and the body, the metaphysical with the physical, in order to create a creature called a human being, that he is becoming an arena of everyday ongoing fight. And that fight is very exhausting, very debilitating. However, we have to go through it. And by overcoming the limitation of the body consciousness, the blindness of the body consciousness, and all the emotions that are coming through the body, ego, lust, whatever. All of these, we have to transform them. We have to become stronger than them because we have to generate, each one of us, a new me. Each one of us has to create a new me, which means that is more complete, that is more in harmony with his or her spiritual uh, needs. And we all know when our spiritual needs are being met and we really feel fulfilled, happy, and protected, and hopefulness, with hopefulness, we eat less, we buy less, we need less to satisfy our evil inclination and other people's evil inclination. So, if we are not capable of completing all the aspects of our soul, those aspects that need to be corrected come down in another lifetime, in another person, so the journey can continue. Okay, so this is crucial for anyone who considers himself as a monotheistic, because if you consider yourself a monotheist and you do not believe in reincarnation, you have a big problem. Why? I don't know when have you been to the geriatric ward in the hospital. Have you seen old, especially nowadays, very old people going through the painful process of saying bye-bye, goodbye to this life and family, friends, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on, and saying, leaving all behind and moving upwards. Okay? It's very hard to find among those people in those departments in the hospital that are lying with a smile on the face, saying, I had enough. And from now on, I'm here just to share it with other people so somebody can enjoy my product. Okay? Whatever we created in our lives. So this is very rare. So what does it mean when these people die? Bitter, upset, uh, feeling like they missed the main things in their lives. And some people have a stronger remorse, some people have less. But what's in common is that if we consider the faith of monotheism, it means that if God decided to create a human soul, so that human soul will be fulfilled with infinite light, uh, you cannot receive that light in the infinite. You need to be challenged by a lot of difficulties and disasters and uncomfortable situations in order to show that you value the spiritual light more than anything else, that you value basic values of a spiritual society more than anything else. If you do that, you can come out of the mm, confusion and the haze of misunderstanding what's going on, who's negative, who's against whom, what the story is about. And then you start to realize, but that's not easy. We have to work really hard to be able to see that we are a small part in a long, long chain of bodies and soul coming again and again and again till they do their tikkun, which means what is the main idea of human life? Evolution, which means a baby is born, he's going through a circumcision, he's going through whatever, and he's like, from that moment on, you need to educate the baby. And that baby is growing, and as he's physically growing, his abilities to understand the world around are becoming more and more skilled. When is the time to throw them out of the house? When is the time to throw them into the water so they can swim? Every child has its own time. Okay? However, when can you really become a creator, the image of the creator? We spoke about it. When? Only when you are just on your own, facing all the challenges, and you reinvent and you recreate yourself, your community under every crisis. This is very important because if the creator is infinite and his giving and love is infinite, that should be embedded inside his creation. That should be concentrated in whatever actions you have to do to connect to the spiritual dimension. When you do that, you can be elevated, or you can create so much noise that you don't even understand what are you connecting to, and that can take you down. So basically, the fact that there is an infinite God, one God, and there's no one else but this God, if he's all infinite and he created all of us, all of humanity, to experience that infinite, of course, you cannot arrive to that in 1, 2, 3 steps. You need to basically, A, be aware of it, realize that what separates us and God's light is our own selfishness. Overcoming the selfishness, the negativity, and so on allows us to rise and rise and rise one round after another round till if we don't give up and we keep to the faith, then finally we can transform all the negativity and materialism that was part of us in the beginning into a great light of redemption, personal redemption. And then we can experience the messianic uh, stage because it's like you built the building, just the guests didn't come yet. And you see that your life is much better, people around you, their life is much better, and so on. That is the purpose of the whole study of reincarnation. Why is it like this? Because the moment we believe there's an infinite God, that he means only well, and he created each one of us to enjoy the creation, he will not leave us alone till we do enjoy the creation. So, being a monotheist makes you think that you live only once is a cruel, stupid lie. People will buy that lie when they can stand that system of do's and don't do's that religion is trying to sell or convince the ones can be convinced. But this is a wrong concept many times. The concept is first and for all that there is an awesome, infinite God who created the universe. That God gave us Parashat Mishpatim and all the laws connected to that. And therefore, we have to follow that law so we are more capable of reaching the higher level of the game, of reaching the core power of this game of life. How do you do that? It's called the law of affinity. Similarities attract. God is infinite. His love is infinite. He does not discriminate and he does not separate. When we can reach that level, that attribute, we are much, much closer than anybody else. We're closer to God. And when we're closer to God, it's because we turn ourselves into something that emulates God more than anyone else. And because of the law of affinity, we can receive this way a lot of the light that is concealed in the upper realms. So basically, why do we need to believe in reincarnation? Because if we are monotheistic and we believe in one infinite light that can nourish each one of us, if not now, then later, but it's going to be done. The moment we are connected to that nourishment, we're alive. If you're not connected to this nourishment, we will basically wilt and die because, think about so many people. They're working in a job they can't stand, they hate it. However, they have to put food on the table, so they have to do it, so they do it. And meanwhile, everybody around them is speaking about how come this job. It's only for robots, for monkeys. It's not for human work. And you hear that and you get frustrated about your life. Well, if you understand the law of reincarnation, you understand that you go through these punishments. It's not punishments, it's tikkun. You have to overcome the discomfort of the situation you are stuck at and to turn it into a valuable emotion, energy, idea, invention. And that's the difference. And this is why uh, the Zohar is so creative and so full of mercy and love, because that's what the Zohar is trying to make us feel. Now, if we have that certainty that each one of us was created for greatness, and there's no debate about it, no debate, no argument, no probabilities, it's 100%. Okay, so you have to understand that if you're really following the laws, you're going to reach the manifestation of your own calling. However, if you transgress the laws, and that's the basic epic song that Parashat Mishpatim is about. It's like turning into the reading of the basic legal issues in the Talmud with a melody. Why? Because there's always something hinted inside about a deeper, wider, and more charged opportunity. So, for instance, when we talk about thieves, okay, so what's wrong with stealing? We know that you cannot enjoy the light if you did not pay for it. If you did not pay for it with your heart, your giving, or with the power that you bring with the rifle or something like this. It's like you need to create happiness, you need to overcome negativity. And by overcoming the negativity, we earn our divine existence. Okay? So we need to go through such stages. So therefore, when it says that when people that in the beginning of the parasha, what if somebody is selling his daughter as a maiden servant? Okay. And how should he treat that? And the Zohar is saying the father is God and the daughter is the soul that is being sold into slavery as, as a, as a commodity. How would the soul redeem itself? So many times when we uh, when we get married, then our half a soul, every human being has half a soul, is being completed with another half. Because, in the image of God, he created them. He created him, male and female, he created them. So the first creation of the vessel, it was a joint venture of male and female. They had to be split. That's how Adam and Eve came to the world. And that's how Eve turned that link of light with the Almighty, that light bestowed upon her, turned it into a bow and an arrow. And she hits the apple. And the result is the sin of Adam, because that awakens passion, lust, and that takes you away from God himself. Now we are in the process of correcting, completing that what was broken in the past. Again, if we are real, authentic monotheists, we must have faith in the idea that the chance of each one of us to reach divinity, completion, and enlightenment, the chance is 100%. Why? God will never leave anyone behind him. And that's why we have to keep rowing forward. Okay, so now we can understand the rest of the laws. For instance, as we said, about beating another person, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand and a leg for a leg. Do we really believe that the Torah in one place does not give us any right to knock down an eye of an animal or to cut a leg? Let's say I'm very, 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 very hungry, but I don't want to kill the cow because I want milk tomorrow too. So I cut only one leg. This is illegal. This cannot be done according to the Noahide law. This is the law humanity received by Noah. And one of the laws, you're not supposed to cut a limb from an animal and eat it while the animal is still alive. You're not allowed to spill the blood. Also, so why? Because that level of cruelty damages your soul, does not help you on your journey to enlightenment. So if the Torah does not allow to do it to a cow or a lamb, how come the Torah allows humans to do it? That's even worse. Somebody with intelligence and a consciousness. And of course, the commentators are saying, an eye for an eye, verse 24 in Exodus 21, הידוע בקבלת רבותינו שהוא ממון. We all know by the tradition of our sages that when we're talking an eye for an eye, it is about money. That is mentioned in Mechilta, in Baba Kama, ויבוא כלשון הזה בתשלומים ומכה נפש בהמה ישלמנה. So in the same language, when it says whoever beats up a cow should pay for her. אמר רבי אבא said, כי כוונה כתוב לומר, the meaning of that verse it is, לומר שהוא חייב בכך אם לא ייתן כופו. Even if you don't pay, you still owe it. When are you going to pay it? Another round in your life, another lifetime, you lose money in a certain investment, you don't understand why did you lose? It was illogical, but you don't even understand that the people you owe them the money, they somehow got the benefit of the money by being partners, friends, neighbors, and stuff like this. This is a whole system of receiving and paying for that reception, whatever we received. Okay, so but the main idea the Ramban is saying, the Nachmanides, it is money, which means if you knock somebody's eye, you should pay compensating. If you knock somebody's tooth or a hand or a leg, okay, all the damages. If you inflict the damage on somebody, you have to compensate that person, okay? What if it was a hit and run? Okay, you escaped. The person that you hit never realized who was it. Okay, there were no cameras around. Nobody knows the license plate. The perfect crime. You ran away. You will have to pay an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and so on and so forth. How would that happen? So everybody's asking the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Nobody can say he's always good. On what scale? Nobody can say that. We all make mistakes, okay? Maybe some of you don't, but we all make mistakes. Human beings make mistakes. And we make mistakes because by those mistakes we learn where is our tikkun, where to dedicate our effort. Because, if you invest in a place that is already completed, you're wasting time and energy and money. But if you invest in a place that is ruined, and you have to know that. So how do we know? Wherever we feel beaten up, or wherever we feel that we kind of victimization, we know, oh, over here we have a lot of work to do. So this is one thing. So we know whatever damage we inflict on others, either we just ignore it and then it will come at us and we'll have to pay it wanting or not wanting, or we follow the path of the victim and finally compensate him so we can say, now my cosmic debt is being paid and I'm free to move on. When I have that state of mind, it's much easier to deal with whatever happens to us. And of course, if somebody hurts us and get away with it, and we know, oh, that person has a problem of a certain kind of violence, and if he's not going to admit to me that he hurt me, he's going to bump into somebody who will force him to admit. What goes around comes around. But basically, whatever happens to us is premeditated. It's part of a very calculated movie. Our job is only to stay awake and aware, so when it hits us, we are ready to react, to basically reciprocate, not with another negativity, with anger, upset, and so something like this, but to react with a gift of light, so we can pay back what we took. Who knows when? Now, there's amazing over here. There's something that is a main column in the Hebrew law, and it's called Arba Avot Nezikin, the four prototypes of damage. One is defined as Hashor, the ox, and it's starting chapter 21 in Exodus, verse 28. וכי יגח שור את איש או את אישה ומת. When an ox gores a woman or a man and he kills them, sakol yisakel ashor, the ox must be stoned. Velo yachel et basor, and his flesh cannot be eaten. Uval ashor naki, and the owner of the ox has no liability. But we're saying just a second, but it's his ox. Oh, verse 29 says, Ve'im shor nagachu mitmol shimshon. However, if that is not a regular ox, he's always in the pasture, minding his own business, eating his own food. He never gored another ox or a cow or a woman or a man. So the owner knows that that ox is very calm and there's no fear. Suddenly, out of the blue, something like this is coming out. You have to compensate the victim, and then you're clean. However, verse 29 says, "V'imshor nagacho mitmol shimshon." But if that ox is known to be violent and he gores animals and people right and left whenever he is capable of, and his owner has been warned already, Velo yishmerenu, he does not guard him, does not put a guard on the ox. He's not being tied up by a chain or something like this. The owner is allowing him to go, around doing whatever he wants. If that ox kills a man or a woman, השור יסכל וגם בעליו יומת. The ox will be stoned to death. However, his owner will be executed too. Okay. So we're talking about 4 causes of damage. The ox, which means anything that belongs to you that has the ability to create damage, to hurt others. The other one is verse 33, וכי יפתח איש בור וככרי איש בור. If somebody digs a pit and he doesn't cover it, he doesn't put a fence around it, somebody's ox passing by or another person passing by and falls into the pit and that kills him. Verse 34, בעל הבור ישלם כסף. ישלם כסף. בעל הבור ישלם כסף ישיב לבעליו. The owner of the ox, the owner of the pit, the one who dug the hole, the pit, whatever you call it, a well, will pay. He has to compensate the owner of the ox or the donkey that fell into the well. Okay, he has to care. And so we have, one is the ox, one is the well. The third is if your animals went to graze outside and they ate somebody's, let's say, tomatoes or watermelons or any kind of crops, okay? Or let's say they came into the kitchen and ate whatever they found on the stove. You have to pay for that. Or somebody sets fire for some of his stuff, and the fire spreads and creates damage around the village. So we have like 4 main causes of damage: the ox, the well, the pit, the grazing animal, and the fire. Those are also in the Kabbalistic system. They explain about 4 forces of negativity, judgments, that when we create those judgments, they hurt not just us, and of course we have to take responsibility for them, but they hurt other people. And the moment they hurt other people, not just the judgments, even the physical stuff, which means if somebody dug a well, okay, and somebody else fell into it and was damaged, and you ran away and you never paid, you'll have to pay it because you have to take responsibility for the damage you created. More than that, What if you do not take responsibility? What if you do not compensate the victim? That means that you will have to pay in a different way. And basically, a lot, when we ask the question again, why do bad things happen to good people? When we realize that if we are on a journey of achieving completion and we create damage, that damage, something that hurts our own soul, somebody else's soul, hurts the whole planet. Let's say somebody is responsible for producing fake news, and that fake news creates hysteria. The result is a loss of a lot of money, let's say in the stock market, because people get hysterical. Or let's say it creates a war and people are being killed. The person who creates that fake news has to pay for it. Okay? How do you pay for it? You have to compensate with money, with work, with effort. So sometimes you see people that they have an amazing, amazing talent to help people. Let's say Thomas Edison, Tesla. You know, how many people profit, enjoy their inventions in the area of electricity and radio and stuff like this? Who knows? What was the damage they brought? I'm not saying for sure this is it. Could be they brought so much damage in their past lives, and now in this life, they came with such a great idea that helps so many people in order to compensate for a huge damage they brought to humanity in previous lives. So we understand that we have a journey and we have a commitment and we have to be responsible for all damage that we revoke or bring upon others. And therefore, we need to be so much responsible for our actions so the damage won't be generated in the first place. Which means if you can't just help, at least don't hurt. Therefore, Rabbi Ezekluria is teaching us that without understanding the idea of reincarnation, you can't really achieve the calling of your life. Why? You don't have a wide enough awareness that whatever you do is a result of something you did in the past. Whatever you're facing it's a part of a long story of opportunities and more opportunities. To excel, as the Zohar said, to excel and reach higher levels of spirituality, so your soul can become a vessel for a great enlightenment, and by this you manifest your calling and you reach a completion, tikkun, or you realize that you came back another lifetime because you created so much damage, knowing or not knowingly, and now your job is to help others, because if somebody comes on your way and he needs your support, give him the support, because you don't know how much you're going to correct from past life. So yes, there is agenda. I want my life to be better. Therefore, I am supposed to help anyone on my journey. So because I understand that these are opportunities. One of the stories I love, it's the story, it's a very old Hasidic story about that. Shochet. Shochet is somebody who slaughters a kosher slaughtering of an animal. You cannot just kill an animal and eat it. You need to have the kosher slaughtering. Why? Kosher slaughtering, there's a technique that you kill the animal without the animal feeling the pain. Okay? Otherwise, that pain is a trauma in the meat. You don't want to eat that. And the whatever spiritual sparks caught in that animal are not released properly. Okay, so that shochet, the man who's professional slaughterer according to the Jewish law, has one morning, Friday morning, he wakes up startled. He had his late father appear to him in the dream, and his father begged him, implored, please listen to me, my son. A woman will come to you with a chicken to slaughter just before Shabbat. You will be very busy preparing for Shabbat, and you will be upset about this woman. Because how dare you come in such a last moment, that I'm busy preparing for Shabbat, and soon enough is Shabbat, and I won't be able to prepare, and you'll be upset about her, and you send her home. You should understand, my son, in the dream, the father says, your main tikkun is to stop everything you're doing, to be there for that woman who has nothing else to eat but that chicken. Slaughter the chicken with patience and love, and let her go home and prepare food for her family for Shabbat. So he wakes up with that vivid dream. He's so like, wow, what kind of a dream is that? My whole life is about one thing, to do that properly. So he's preparing for Shabbat from the morning. It's already a little bit afternoon. He's already sitting with a knife waiting for the woman to come. She doesn't come. Weird. The dream felt so much like truth. 40 years later, he's there right now. He's an older man. His sons and daughters are sitting with him at the table with their spouses and his grandkids. And he's doing the kiddush, the blessing of the wine for Shabbat. And every time when he blesses the wine of Shabbat, he remembers how graceful was the blessing of the wine of his father. And suddenly he faints and falls down on the floor. The wine spills out. Everybody's, wow, what's going on? And finally they can wake him up with cold water. And as he wakes up, he says, the first thing, you know that widow, she lives down the street there and there. Take all the food we have and give it to her. They run with the food like he's asking them. And when they come back, he says, they were sitting there without any food on the table, correct? They said, yes, how did you know? So he sits there and he says, I'll tell you a story. 40 years ago, I had this dream, and he tells them about the dream. And that woman did not come that day. I was sitting since noon waiting for her. She did not come. Today she came, and I forgot. And I threw her out of the house and said, how dare you come the last moment just before Shabbat? I don't have time for that. Go home. And my father warned me to stop and wait, and with love to slaughter the kitchen and to let her have dinner for Shabbat. And I did not remember. I remembered only when I was doing the Kiddush and I was thinking about my father. I hope that I did what I needed to do. That night, his father came to him in a dream and he said, you almost missed it. The fact that you compensated her and you sent her food so she has like a normal Shabbat dinner with her family, that saved you. And now you are complete and done. So the next night, he passed away because he completed his tikkun. When somebody comes on our way, first, do not inflict any kind of damage, not by setting fires and, okay, the fire hurt somebody else's field or house. That's his problem. No, it's your problem. You have to compensate. Otherwise, you have to come again and again till you do it right. If your ox or anything that belongs to you hurt somebody else and created damage, you have to take responsibility. This Parashah of Mishpatim is about, if you want to connect to godliness, Mount Sinai revelation, if you really want to understand all the amazing tree of life branches of how everything in this world connects to everything else, you have to take responsibility of everything you're doing. Do not inflict damage on others. On the other hand, do your best to bring value to others. If you really commit to that, you will have a fulfilling life. You will connect to the tree of life. You will reach enlightenment. You will reach that level the Creator meant for you, which means to be a vessel of His love and light. But never abuse those opportunities. Thank you so much.